Hello and welcome to Sustainability Marketing Lecture 10 on Convenience. This is the third episode, the case study of Family Mart stores, and it forms part of our review of the sustainability marketing mix as part of the total sustainability management process. We've already looked at the issue of making consumption convenient for consumers in the first episode, and particularly the role that packaging plays both in delivering consumer convenience and in terms of developing some sustainability challenges in episode 2. And this time we're going to look at a particular type of business that is very much centered around convenience, a convenience store. In terms of the learning outcome, we'll be looking at the convenience store format and thinking about whether it lends itself to more or less sustainable retailing. We'll be trying to understand how Family Mart stores have sought to develop a strategy that reduces their environmental impacts whilst also increasing the convenience they offer to their customers. And finally, exploring how Family Mart stores have sought to contribute to their communities more widely through their strategies than perhaps they did through a conventional retailing approach. In terms of the structure of this episode, we'll be having an introduction to Family Mart convenience stores. We'll be looking at the key Family Mart sustainability strategies and really how Family Mart have sought to become an important place in their customers' lives. Family Mart are Japan's third largest konbini franchise, konbini being the Japanese term for convenience stores. There's about 50,000 konbini across Japan as a whole, and about 7,000 of those belong to Family Mart. In a typical konbini, you can do a great number of things. If you walked into one, you could buy all sorts of products, groceries, food and drink, alcoholic drinks. You could pay your bills, you could get money out, you could have something to eat or drink, you could drop off or collect laundry for washing, you could arrange childcare, you could hire a video or DVD to watch. There's a whole range of different things that you could do within such a convenience store as this. As stores are operated, they're mostly franchises. The 7,000 franchise stores, they're almost all run by families in terms of the management of them. Typically they have around 15 to 20 employees who work 3 shifts because it is a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week operation whereby the products that the stores carry, it's around 2,800 products per Family Mart store, and are there and available for consumers within their local community, any time of day or night they might want them. So really the whole tradition of the konbini stores in Japan generally and Family Mart in particular have been about creating operations very strongly linked into their local communities and very, very convenient to use in terms of providing those basic goods and services that people want to have close to where they live. Over time though, Family Mart decided they wanted to move beyond that very convenient, very sort of conventional, convenience-orientated strategy, really towards something more profound, more sustainability-orientated, more strongly community-orientated. And so they always stress, because Family Mart being the name, obviously family being a key element of their strategy, but in terms of being part of the community and being sort of close to their customers' hearts and, as they describe it, an indispensable part of their lives. They often use the phrase to become an important place in our customers' lives. And as I say, the aims they're trying to achieve in terms of the goals of the company, are to make their customers' lives more comfortable, more enjoyable, which is very much in line with our definition of convenience, through hospitality in everything they do, and a shopping experience characterized by convenience, friendliness and fun. So very much convenience at the forefront of what they're aiming to do, but increasingly something that's also trying to become community orientated, socially responsible, and as we'll see, more sustainable. In trying to develop a more sustainable approach to the business, the company realized that the majority of its energy expenditure was on lighting, that running a store 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, created considerable energy bills. And so they went through 2 strategies. One was a strategy of store redesign, changing the store into different zones, with each different zone in a different place according to the level of lighting it needed. So for example, the sales of newspapers and magazines was pushed to the front of the store near the major windows and the natural daylight, so that customers who want to pick something up and read it can read it most of the time using natural daylight without too much need for additional illumination. They completely changed the stores to rely on LED lighting, which is far more energy efficient than conventional bulbs. They also made the very simple step of linking the heating and refrigeration systems in terms of they sold a lot of refrigerated goods, and those refrigerators tended to generate heat, which could then be converted to use in the store's heating system. So they gradually sought to become far more energy efficient. And in 1999, they achieved ISO 14001 certification for their environmental management system, having developed during the 1990s a very holistic approach to energy and environmental management within the stores. And the sort of targets they've been setting themselves are something like 7% a year carbon dioxide reduction for the way in which they operate their stores. And from a whole range of the different aspects of the stores they've changed, as you can see from the slide there, they've made some very significant changes to the store that have saved a great deal of energy. So in terms of, one example there being just simply changing the dessert display cases, which kept the desserts cool, saved 22% of the energy dedicated to that area of the store, and so on. So they really found a whole number of ways of changing the fabric of the stores to make them more energy and more environmentally efficient. And that reached a peak with they trialled a store which was largely solar powered by having a large solar array on the roof to try and actually create a solar powered convenience store. They also realised a considerable amount of their ecological footprint was linked into the delivery of products, the products coming to the store so that customers could gain access to them. And the store was the first in the industry to adopt entirely hybrid vehicles. So they have a fleet of 1,900 vehicles, which they have recently turned into entirely hybrid. And as you'll see over the years between 2001 up until the present time, they've gradually increased the number of natural gas-powered vehicles and hybrid vehicles that were used to deliver products to the store. Even more simply in many ways, but effectively, the number of different deliveries they've had per store per day has been cut significantly. In 1990, there were 22 different vehicles delivering to each store on average per day. By 2008, they had reduced that down to 8. They also reduced a great deal of the paperwork in terms of forms that had to be completed with each delivery, saving literally millions of pieces of paper every year from the business as a whole. So they found ways of actually distributing products to the stores more environmentally soundly, and also running the stores environmentally much more efficiently. Within the store, they've also adopted over recent years far more in terms of green products, of environmentally orientated products. So they have a We Love Green logo for products that meet their standards for reduced environmental impacts for the material use, production process, product use and recycling. And there's just a few examples of the products that they sell that are often recycled or in recycled packaging and have the We Love Green logo. They also changed a great deal of the packaging of the products in the store. That they had used traditional plastic packaging for a lot of their fresh food items. They gradually switched to using ones made from cornstarch that were biodegradable. They also interestingly tried to move their consumers away from a reliance on packaged food to selling more fresh food that could be eaten in store. And they've been very successful in terms of increasing the amount of fresh produce that customers are actually consuming on the premises, rather than just simply purchasing packaged food. The plastic bag issue has been an interesting one for them. We saw the little video in the last episode, and we talked a little bit about plastic bags as an issue that has become iconic, somewhat controversial, and which has been an interesting issue in terms of reducing sustainability impacts while still maintaining the convenience that's offered to consumers. In many of the Japanese prefectures, there's been a move towards a 5 yen charge for the use of single-use plastic bags for consumers. And Family Mart were asked by some of these local governments to adopt that strategy. In the end, they declined to do so. They felt that not allowing customers to have individual single-use plastic bags would be too literally inconvenient for them. Instead, they tried to develop some other strategies. They began not offering customers single-use plastic bags as an automatic choice. So their cashiers have all been trained now to say, do you want a bag for that, rather than just automatically putting a product in a bag. They've also developed a range of bags for life, and you can see an example of one there, made from materials like cotton that consumers can use over and over again, that carry the store's branding as well, so they can have a communications role to fulfill. As you can see, they have managed over time to reduce the number of plastic bags being dispensed in the Family Mart stores. It's something like, by 2008, they'd reduced the number of bags being used by nearly 21%. So again, it shows that some of those almost soft management measures to change consumer behaviour and wean them off, in this case, single-use plastic bags, can be effective. Although, as I say, whether they can continue that improvement without starting to charge for them to change consumer behaviour further will be interesting to see. The company have also done a great deal in terms of trying to find effective ways of using old product and in particular edible waste or waste edible oil. That the company cooks a great deal of fresh food on site to offer for consumers, but that generates a large quantity of waste food oil, and which was previously just discarded. But in 1999, they established a vegetable oil recycling system whereby the oil is collected each day from the stores, taken to a central facility and reprocessed. Some of it's turned into vehicle fuel, but some of it's turned into other products such as animal feed, paint and hand wash. And there's an example on the slide there of the type of hand wash that they manufacture and sell in the stores that is based on the company's reuse of the edible oil that they produce. As well as environmental contributions, Family Mart have been very active in trying to develop a corporate social responsibility strategy with an emphasis on community contributions in particular. So they've organised a mass community clean-up campaigns based around the areas in which all their stores are operated, getting staff to volunteer to join in with community litter picks and clean-up campaigns, and inviting customers to join them has become an annual campaign now for the stores. They also support the Bellmark cause-related marketing strategy, which runs in Japan. It's based on providing equipment for local schools through consumer purchases. So as consumers purchase so much of a certain type of product, they amass sort of points and vouchers which can be used through the Bellmark campaign to purchase equipment for local schools. They also act as official safety stations, refuge points for children. So if children within the community feel at any point in danger from whether it's from bullying or any form of attack or whatever, the staff are trained to sort of look after the children, and the children are told that the Family Mart stores offer a safe point of refuge, should they need one. Again, linking into the family and community issues in terms of finding causes to support, local community school soccer programs have been something that Family Mart have supported for many years, and again helps to bring them into contact with the community and develop good and strong relationship with their customers. They've also for many years operated as a designated official communications network point in the case of natural disasters, and particularly Japan being an area that's subject to earthquakes, that in the case of an earthquake, then the local Family Mart store will act as a point of communication, information, and in some cases delivering relief efforts to consumers within particular communities. And in 2011, in the wake of the earthquake and the tsunami, the Family Mart stores were called into action in that role in many parts of Japan. But the company actually went further. At the time, it realised that there were many areas of Japan whose retailing infrastructure had been very badly affected by the earthquake and tsunami, and that consumers there were effectively stranded in terms of access to the goods and services they need. So the company actually created mobile convenience trucks that held about 300 very staple food and drink and other items that consumers would need, and they started those trucks actually going around the affected prefectures, delivering those particular goods and services directly to the customers. And again, although you might think that was a company being opportunistic and seeking to make money out of a disaster, in many ways the company was not seeking to run those relief trucks on a profitable basis. They were just looking to try and serve those communities and help those local customers, really in a sense of keeping in line with their own corporate social responsibility strategy of being an important place for those communities within which they operate. So the convenience store story, as typified by Family Mart, but in almost any country you can go to, you can find convenience stores operating. It's an interesting take on the convenience store story, because if we look at the sustainability and marketing literature over the years, convenience stores have often had something of a negative image. They're seen as stores that are small, tend to sell a lot of very packaged foods and drinks, often sell fast food. They tend to be in relatively busy places near urban centres or near major traffic routes, really trying to meet the needs of the sort of busy urban population who are time pressed and who need convenience. That convenience stores have met those needs, but have not really been leaders in responding to sustainability issues or the sustainability agenda, but have tended to actually lag behind. I think as society changes, that position is being rethought. Very often in consumer economies, in countries across Europe and America, Canada, Australia, that the dominance of out-of-town retailing, of very big stores where people need a car and access to a car really to be able to access the goods and services there in a convenient way, has tended to create the dominance of the car economy, the reliance on the car as a means of accessing the things that we need in our lives. And that has potentially increased the carbon emissions burden that is attached to our shopping. Whereas if we could shop more locally, more conveniently, there may be opportunities to actually meet our needs for goods and services in a way that relies less on the private car and less on driving. And that maybe if we can develop a new generation of convenience stores that serves local communities in a convenient way and in a sustainable way, or in a sustainability orientated way, as Family Mart have started to do, we could actually create a very new generation of convenient and sustainability orientated stores. It's interesting in particular that part of the convenience store's success story in Japan is due to the aging population, that increasingly Japanese consumers are to be found in communities where there are a lot of relatively elderly people. They don't have access to or can drive a car. They need goods and services to be accessible within their own communities, and the convenience stores of the type that Family Mart represent provide a very sort of convenient and effective way of meeting those needs. So in many ways, I think in the society of the future, we may see more rather than less in the way of convenience stores, and that hopefully we'll see a convenience store approach which delivers that convenience with sustainability marketing also driving their marketing strategies. So in terms of thinking about the issues we've raised within this session, I think looking at the Family Mart story, you can maybe think about how Family Mart have tried to reduce the distribution-related environmental costs that are linked to the products that they sell. Also thinking about Family Mart as a franchise, and maybe running a business as a franchise in which different families operate all these different stores, perhaps creates challenges for developing and implementing sustainable customer solutions. And also, finally, what initiatives you think that maybe could help Family Mart stores be a more important and sustainable place within their customers' lives and help fulfill the company's ambitions. In terms of references, we've given more detail about the Family Mart case within Chapter 10 on convenience within our book, Sustainability Marketing. Otherwise, if you want more information on the Family Mart story, you can find it online in the CSR Initiatives by Family Mart publication, which is in English, that's available at the web address on the slide. So, thank you very much for listening, and bye for now.